curious to learn more about the Fool card in the tarot. In this video, we are going to explore different visual representations of the Fool card and explore how these help us to understand some of the key meanings behind this card. I'm going to share some of my favourite examples of the Fool card and share with you how they've helped me to learn more about this card. But first, please do share in the comments which are your favourite Fool cards. Let us know which deck it comes from and how this card has helped you to identify with the meanings of the Fool card. Stick around to the very end of the video where I will share with you how I have personally interpreted the Fool card in my forthcoming tarot deck which I'm designing. The Rider-Waite-Smith Fool card. Here we have a young person who is carefree, which we can see in their open-armed pose. They are taking in life. They're also high up, which indicates that perhaps they are a dreamer and their head is in the clouds. We know that they are set for adventure. We have a little knapsack here. But we also know that they're a dreamer because they're not necessarily dressed for the occasion. This is a very fancy garment to be wearing whilst clambering about on the mountain tops. The little dog here is here to warn the Fool of their imminent danger of potentially falling off the cliff. But this doesn't concern the Fool. They are so consumed and caught up in the moments and curious to see where this adventure, dangerous or not, might take them. We also have the number 0, or not technically a number. And this is also significant when looking at the Fool card. And I have the perfect card to explain what this means in a little bit more detail and to help you remember it. The key headlines for the Fool then: carefree, daydreamer, possibly head in the clouds, on the verge of adventure, ready to go into the unknown, curiosity, following that sense of adventure, regardless of danger, going for it anyway. And the number 0, which has been linked with the idea of an egg. So what comes out of an egg? New life, new beginnings, new emerging energy. So how do we remember carefree then? My first card comes from Chris Ann's The Light Seers Tarot. Here we have somebody who is very clearly in the pose of one that feels carefree, leaning back, enjoying life, crystal in hand, really absorbing all the positive energy. And remember, the Fool is a very positive and encouraging card. I just love the pose that Chris Ann has captured here. She is totally in the moment, and that is what the Fool card suggests or invites us to do in our readings. Think about that moment when you're just basking in the sunlight and enjoying the sun's rays, and I think that's really what is going on here. Now, for the Daydreamer aspect of the Fool card, this comes from the indie deck, the Textured Tarot. Now, I've selected this Fool card because I could be wrong here, but I think you'll agree with me. This Fool character is very reminiscent and probably most likely to have been inspired by David Bowie's alter ego, Ziggy Stardust. And I say this because we have the iconic cropped red hair with the red lightning bolt face paint. Use this card to illustrate the Daydreamer aspect of the Fool, because I think in order to manifest an alter ego like this, there would have been a strong element of daydreaming and wondering about what would happen if you embraced your true flamboyant self, if that is a characteristic that you identify with. Obviously, it taps into curiosity as well, which is one of the other aspects of our Fool card, because I think you have to be curious to want to embrace this side of yourself. And I think combining this idea of daydreaming and curiosity, you're really allowing yourself to explore what is possible if you follow an idea. Because I think most ideas, most sparks of inspiration, and particularly when we're talking about creative journeys, start with a daydream. And of course, our Fool signalling the beginning of a journey that you may be embarking on. So whether that's just the journey of life in itself, as it is in the major arcana, or whether it's a job that you're going to follow, or as I said, a creative impulse, or any other journey that you might be embarking upon. Daydreaming about where this journey might take you is going to be really helpful at this point to help you overcome any fears or doubts that you might have. Now, exploring the sense of adventure side of the Fool card, this is coming from the Forest of Enchantment Tarot by Lune Weatherstone, illustrated by Mary La Allwood. This might not be an obvious choice for a Fool card, but this is possibly one of my favourite Fool cards because we have the white stag here at the edge of the forest, not knowing what lies ahead once he enters the mysterious and creepy forest. A little bit like our Fool, on the edge of something, of a new adventure. We also have the swirling mists. And we said that the Fool could indicate someone who has their head in the clouds, a bit of a dreamer. And I think this swirling mist, which isn't actually present on the Rider-Waite-Smith card, but this could quite easily indicate a sort of dreamlike state. Now, once we've decided to step into the forest, we are greeted by my next choice for curiosity, because you need curiosity to overcome any fears you have about what you might discover in the mysterious forest. And so our curiosity element of the Fool card comes from Erin Morgenstern's The Phantomwise Tarot. This is another favourite Fool card of mine, and I'm sure it won't take long for many of you to recognise that this is partially influenced by Alice in Wonderland. So we said that the Fool is being warned of some danger. Here Alice has got her cat who's possibly thinking, what on earth is going on here? Do you really want to be going down at the rabbit hole? Although, as a cat, and cats being curious creatures, this cat is probably urging Alice to go and explore that rabbit hole. What do you think, Jack? But that's exactly the energy that the Fool embodies. This curiosity, this idea of entering the forest or going down the rabbit hole or walking off the edge of the cliff. Our Fool is not concerned with the dangers, because curiosity, and some may say an innocence or a naivety, and therefore their understanding of perceived danger is yet to be developed. They're going to go after what they want, no matter what. So the Fool asks us, are you prepared to be curious, to go down that rabbit hole and follow your adventure? I mentioned that the number 0 is quite significant in terms of the Fool and the energy of that card. So we're going to look at the Fool card from the Oriens Tarot by Ambi Sun, which is this card here. So this is a beautiful illustration of a baby turtle emerging from their shell. And so the concept of 0, if you think about the shape of the 0, it is very reminiscent of the shape of an egg, as some people have identified in some of the books that I've read. Therefore, the 0 of the Fool represents this idea of rebirth. And if you explore tarot a little bit further, you will come to learn that the major arcana is a cycle. So once the Fool reaches the world, which we'll talk about in a later video, which is about completion, we then start the cycle again. We're then reborn into the next phase of our life. So I think, although this might seem like an unusual Fool card, I think it's really helpful to help us understand this beginning energy of the Fool. And there's nothing greater than an animal emerging from its shell to represent that moment of birth and that moment of seeing the world for the first time without any preconceived ideas or judgments. The Star Spinner Tarot then, and this is by Trungles. Let's just see what the book says, and then you can see whether you agree with me or not. And I'm not going to read all of it, I'm just going to read the main points. So the upright definition in this deck for the Fool is that the Fool indicates one who is ready to take the first steps in a new direction and explore previously untapped potential, which is kind of what we've been talking about with our other examples. The reverse meaning then: what are the areas in your life where you are reticent for no reason? Uncharted territory can be anxiety inducing. Do not let this fear make you afraid of new opportunities. I present the card for you. Now, every time I get this deck out, every time I look at this card, for me, the pose of this Fool, the expression, speak to me of the things discussed in the reversal. So reticent comes to mind, somebody who looks anxious. I think it's the fact that this Fool is sat, they're sort of huddled as if they're not ready to expand upon their potential, which is what the rest of the Fool card means. I don't really see a character that is ready to embark on adventure or to be curious or to find out their potential. However, that is just my interpretation of the visual aspect of this card. Feel free to comment if you agree or disagree with my assessment of this card. In summary then, the Fool is a newborn energy where we have just emerged into the world for the first time. We are fulfilled with wonder because we have yet to have formed preconceived ideas, to be fearful or worried about the unknown. It is a very carefree energy where we just want to bask in the moment and to absorb all the joy and wonder that the universe has to offer us. As the Fool, we may also be a daydreamer. Daydreaming, what if we embraced our true self, our quirks, and just really went for our desires and dreams? And with that energy, it makes us adventurous, willing to step into the unknown, even if there might be some danger ahead. And to do that, we rely on curiosity to see what would happen if we really did go down and follow that rabbit hole. However, in reverse, our Fool may be feeling a little bit overwhelmed, and we may present a body language that might reflect that, going within, feeling reticent to do all the other things that we've just explained. And when we're coming from a place of fear or overwhelm or anxiety, it's difficult for us to go on an adventure or to stay curious. So how have I interpreted the Fool card with the deck that I am designing, which is called the Tremendous Tuxedo Circus Tarot? This is a Rider-Waite-Smith inspired deck, and on first glance, this card should seem very familiar. We have a character who is heading off with this little knapsack into the distance, and who is also about to take possibly a precarious step off the edge of the cliff. But he does have his little dog to warn him, to ensure that this doesn't happen. However, with my interpretation, I have gone with the idea of, well, magical circus cats is probably the best way I can describe this. The Tremendous Tuxedo Circus is a circus created by black and white cats, and Casper here has heard of this wonderful circus, and he is left the comfort of the litter in search of excitement and adventure. And as we said, the Fool is curious and cats are curious by nature, so leaning into that kind of curious cat energy, if you like. Now he has his little knapsack, and in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, that traditionally holds all of the things that the Fool will need to be successful in life. So this is represented by the 4 suits, so cups, wands, swords and pentacles. In my head though, yes, Casper might have those things, but he actually has the things he needs to be successful as a clown. So later on in the deck, Casper is a juggler, and he has some little woolen balls that he does his juggling with. So he also has that in his knapsack as well. You will also notice that there are some other details. So for instance, there's a little mouse in the corner just below Casper's feet, and this little mouse represents this idea that actually, in order to find your adventure in life, or to find the things that you need which will help you personally and maybe spiritually thrive, is you're going to have to leave the comfort. So for Casper, he's left the comfort of the litter, but the little mouse will need to leave the comfort of the tuft of grass that he's hiding in order to go out there and to get his food and anything else that will help him survive. In the background, we have Casper's destination. So with the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, we don't actually know what the Fool is aiming for, other than he is embracing life and enjoying that moment in the sunshine. But here, Casper has got his sights set on the circus, which is calling him. And even though the little dog is in the background to warn him of his danger, curiosity and excitement and that youthful kind of, well, naivety and exuberance is going to override any sense of danger. And if you think, when we get older and when we're a bit more jaded, we are a little bit more cautious. But Casper, being a curious kitten, he hasn't got to that stage yet. And the sun is shining in the background to represent this idea that life is good and we need to just enjoy that moment and sort of follow our bliss, if you like. In addition to that, you will notice that Casper also has his attention not only of the circus in the background, but a flower with some butterflies. And this represents the transformation that Casper is going to go on. So this idea of, you know, being in the caterpillar stage, which he's currently at, metaphorically, he hasn't quite flourished into the amazing clown that he's going to be. He is... Yes, so this butterfly obviously represents that transformation, almost like a rite of passage, that he will transform if he follows his dream. And so Casper is our hero of this tarot deck. One thing I forgot to mention about the Fool card is that the Fool represents you in your life story, and Casper represents what happens if we follow our bliss. And so you are invited to join us and to meet the rest of the Tremendous Tuxedo Circus and to see what happens when you follow that dream. There may be some challenges ahead, but actually if you're really passionate and you really want this, then you will learn how to navigate any challenges that come your way. And there are certainly challenges that the Tremendous Tuxedo Circus encounter as they travel through Tarotland. But in order to find out more, you're just going to have to watch the subsequent videos and quite simply watch this space. I really do appreciate you choosing to join me today to study some of the key aspects of the Fool card, and if you found that helpful today, be sure to give it a cheeky like, share and subscribe for more content like this. So this is the first part in a series I'm doing, Tarot for Visual Learners, and if you would like to find out more about this course, you can watch this video here, and if you are ready to explore the magician in a similar way, be sure to check out this video when I upload it. Sending you much love until the next video. I'm Sally and this is my channel, Vaudeville Manor, House of Art and Tarot. Bye bye.